Practical Stoic lessons from Marcus Aurelius to reclaim focus and vitality. Imagine standing in the chaos of life's battlefield, work deadlines, family obligations, financial worries. The noise is deafening, the distractions endless, and the demands on your energy unrelenting. Now, picture yourself calm and focused, like a lighthouse cutting through a storm, radiating unshakable vitality. This is not fantasy. This is the promise of Stoicism, a philosophy honed in the fires of ancient Rome and carried forward by one of its greatest practitioners, Marcus Aurelius. You're here because something within you knows that life has more to offer, more clarity, more vitality, more focus. You feel it, don't you? But how do we harness it? How do we, in the midst of our own wars, find the calm strength that Marcus Aurelius demonstrated when he penned his meditations while ruling the most powerful empire in the world? Let me take you back to that scene. Marcus Aurelius is seated in his tent, the faint glow of an oil lamp illuminating the parchment before him. Outside, the distant sounds of battle echo through the night. Yet here he is, writing words that would endure for millennia. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. What does this mean for us? Here and now? Let's start with one of the foundational lessons of Stoicism, the dichotomy of control. Marcus believed that there are only two kinds of things in the world, things we can control and things we cannot. Think about it. How much of your mental energy is spent worrying about things you can't change? The weather? The stock market? Other people's opinions? The Stoics taught us to stop resisting reality and instead focus on what we can govern. Our thoughts, our actions, our reactions. Here's a challenge for you. Can you name one thing today that you let consume your energy? Even though it was entirely outside your control, reflect on it for a moment. When we embrace the dichotomy of control, a shift happens. We stop being victims of life's turbulence and become pilots of our own minds. Marcus Aurelius would ask himself daily, what's within my power to change? What isn't? And then he'd act accordingly. Take a modern example. Imagine you're stuck in traffic, running late to an important meeting. The old you might stew in frustration, blaming the universe for your bad luck. But the Stoic you recognize that the traffic is out of your hands. What is within your power? Your response. Maybe you use that time to prepare mentally for the meeting, or perhaps you call ahead and gracefully explain the delay. This is focus reclaimed. This is vitality restored. But Stoicism isn't just about navigating inconveniences. It's about thriving in the face of life's greatest challenges. Marcus Aurelius faced betrayal, disease, and the weight of an empire's survival. Yet he wrote, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Think about that for a moment. Do you truly believe that? If not, what's holding you back? The Stoics knew that suffering often comes not from events themselves, but from our interpretation of them. Imagine losing a job. Is it a catastrophe or an opportunity to reinvent yourself? The event is neutral. It's your mind that assigns meaning. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Let's make this personal. Think about a recent setback in your life. How did you interpret it? What if you rewrote that narrative? Instead of seeing failure, could you see a lesson? Instead of defeat, could you find resilience? Stoicism teaches us to turn adversity into fuel for growth, much like the fire that consumes and transforms everything it touches. Marcus Aurelius likened this to a raging flame, saying, "What stands in the way becomes the way." Obstacles aren't roadblocks, they're stepping stones. Here's a story. A young athlete, destined for greatness, suffers a career-ending injury. Devastated, he turns to philosophy for solace. Inspired by Marcus's words, he realizes that while his body may no longer compete, his mind remains sharp. He channels his discipline and focus into coaching, becoming one of the most sought-after mentors in his sport. His obstacle became his path. Can you see how this applies to your own life? What obstacle, right now, could you reframe as an opportunity? Now, let's talk about vitality, the energy that fuels not just our bodies but our spirits. Stoicism is often misunderstood as cold or emotionless, but in truth, it's a philosophy of life-affirming energy. Marcus Aurelius believed in living fully and intentionally, writing, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." This isn't just a call to morality, it's a call to action. How often do we drain our vitality by overthinking, procrastinating, or engaging in petty arguments? What would happen if we directed that energy toward our goals and passions? Here's a practical exercise. At the end of each day, write down 3 things that drained your energy and 3 things that restored it. Over time, you'll notice patterns. What's draining you might be unnecessary drama, excessive social media use, or unproductive habits. What's restoring you could be moments of gratitude, creative pursuits, or meaningful conversations. Marcus Aurelius kept a similar practice, writing nightly reflections in his meditations. This habit not only clarified his thoughts, but also fortified his focus and vitality for the battles ahead. As we close this first part, I'll leave you with a profound question. If you were to lose everything tomorrow, your job, your possessions, even your relationships, what would remain within your control? Reflect deeply on this, because the answer is the foundation of your freedom, focus, and vitality. How to build an unshakable mind. Lessons in resilience and purpose from Marcus Aurelius. Close your eyes for a moment and picture a storm. The winds howl, the rain lashes down, and the sky is an ominous shade of gray. Amidst the chaos, there's a lone oak tree, standing tall and unwavering. Its roots sink deep into the earth, anchoring it through the tempest. This is the essence of an unshakable mind, a mind rooted in resilience and purpose. Marcus Aurelius, who weathered political betrayals, personal loss, and the weight of governing an empire, embodied this unshakable strength. His philosophy wasn't born in tranquility, but in the crucible of life's most intense trials. The question is, how do we build a mind like his? We start with the foundation, resilience. Resilience isn't about avoiding hardship, but about facing it with grace and determination. Marcus believed that adversity is not our enemy but our teacher. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Pause for a moment. Think of a time when life knocked you down. What did you learn from it? Did you rise stronger? Or are you still carrying the weight of that moment? Stoicism offers us tools to transform those weights into wings. One of these tools is negative visualization, a practice Marcus often used. Instead of fearing what could go wrong, he imagined the worst-case scenarios. By facing his fears mentally, he stripped them of their power. Let's try it. Picture something you deeply fear, perhaps losing your job, facing rejection, or failing in a personal goal. Now, ask yourself, if this happened, how would I respond? What steps would I take to rebuild? You'll find that by rehearsing resilience, the fear loses its sting. Another pillar of resilience is self-mastery. Marcus Aurelius emphasized that our emotions and impulses don't have to control us. He wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." Think about that. How often do we let fleeting emotions dictate our actions? A rude comment ruins our mood. A minor setback derails our day. What if, instead, we paused and asked ourselves, is this worth my peace? Here's a practical exercise. The next time you feel anger or frustration bubbling up, pause, take 3 deep breaths. Inhale, hold, and exhale slowly. Then ask yourself, what's within my control here? This simple act of mindfulness can transform your reactions and strengthen your inner calm. Now, let's talk about purpose. Without purpose, resilience becomes aimless endurance. Marcus Aurelius had a clear sense of purpose: to serve the greater good, to live virtuously, and to leave the world better than he found it. He wrote, Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. What's your purpose? It doesn't have to be grand or world-changing. Could be as simple as being a loving parent, an honest worker, or a compassionate friend. Purpose gives our struggles meaning and our lives direction. Here's a question for you. If you could distill your life's purpose into one sentence, what would it be? Write it down. Keep it where you can see it every day. Purpose isn't just about what we do, but also how we do it. Marcus believed in the power of small, deliberate actions. He wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Let's bring this down to a practical level. Each day, choose one action that aligns with your purpose. Could be as small as writing a thank you note, listening without judgment, or dedicating 15 minutes to a meaningful project. Over time, these actions compound, creating a life of intentionality and fulfillment. Purpose also requires us to confront our mortality. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself of the fleeting nature of life, writing, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This isn't morbid. It's liberating. When we accept that our time is finite, we stop wasting it on trivialities. We focus on what truly matters. Here's another exercise. At the end of each day, ask yourself, if today were my last, would I be proud of how I lived it? If the answer is no, reflect on what you'd change and start tomorrow with those changes in mind. But resilience and purpose aren't built in isolation. Marcus Aurelius believed in the interconnectedness of humanity, writing, "We were born to work together like feet, hands, and eyes, like the two rows of teeth, upper and lower." This means that our growth is tied to how we contribute to and learn from others. Who are the people in your life that challenge you to be better? How can you uplift those around you? Let's reflect on a key question. What legacy are you building through your actions today? As we near the end of this part, think of the oak tree standing in the storm. Its resilience comes not just from its strength, but from its connection to the earth and its purpose to grow tall and shelter others. We, too, can become unshakable by rooting ourselves in resilience and purpose. The Stoic path to true freedom, mastering the art of letting go and living fully. Imagine a bird, tethered by a thread. It flutters, struggles, and fights, yet it cannot soar. This bird is you, and the thread is the attachments to possessions, expectations, fears, or even past versions of yourself. Now imagine cutting that thread. The bird takes flight, and suddenly, the world opens up in boundless possibility. This is the essence of true freedom, the kind of freedom Marcus Aurelius sought and achieved through Stoicism. Freedom begins with letting go of what we cannot control. Marcus's most famous teaching, the Dichotomy of Control, reminds us that life is split into two categories: things within our power and things beyond it. The key to freedom is mastering the art of focusing only on what lies within our sphere of influence. Think about the mental weight you carry daily, worrying about the outcome of a project, stressing over someone's opinion, or obsessing about the future. How much lighter would you feel if you let go of what you cannot influence? Marcus Aurelius urges us, do not waste the remaining part of your life in thoughts about others, unless you can directly benefit them. Here's a practical way to implement this. The next time you catch yourself ruminating over an uncontrollable situation, ask yourself, what am I truly in charge of here? Then, act decisively on that small area of control and release the rest. This practice, repeated consistently, will cultivate a deep sense of inner peace. But freedom isn't just about external circumstances. It's about mastering your inner world. Marcus wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. If your mind is filled with envy, anger, or regret, you are bound by invisible chains. To be free, you must cleanse your thoughts and align them with your highest values." One way to do this is by practicing mindfulness. The Stoics were pioneers of this discipline, centuries before it became popular. Marcus often reminded himself to stay present, writing, "Confine yourself to the present. Try this simple exercise throughout the day. When you feel overwhelmed, pause and take 3 deep breaths. Observe your surroundings, the colors, textures, and sounds. Remind yourself that this moment is all that exists. In this presence, there is no room for fear of the future or regret of the past. True freedom also requires embracing impermanence. Marcus Aurelius reflected on the fleeting nature of all things, from empires to personal possessions. He wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love. How often do we take life for granted, clinging to the illusion that we will always have more time?" The Stoics used the practice of memento mori, remembering death, not to inspire dread, but to enhance gratitude. Here's another exercise. Imagine today is your last day. What would you do differently? Who would you call? What words would you say? Then, live as if that truth could come at any moment, because one day, it will. Freedom is also found in mastering desires. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." Yet, in our consumer-driven world, we are taught that happiness comes from acquiring more possessions, more recognition, more achievements. Ask yourself, how much of my energy is spent chasing things that won't truly fulfill me? What if you shifted that energy toward cultivating contentment with what you already have? Consider this: every time you resist the pull of unnecessary desire, you reclaim a piece of your freedom. Instead of buying that new gadget or chasing external validation, invest in what nourishes your soul: books, meaningful relationships, or experiences that align with your purpose. Let's explore one of Marcus Aurelius's most profound teachings. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. If you want freedom, begin by liberating your mind. Replace envy with gratitude. Replace anxiety with trust in your own resilience. And replace self-doubt with self-compassion. But freedom isn't a solitary journey. Marcus often reflected on our interconnectedness, writing, "What injures the hive injures the bee." True freedom includes recognizing that we are part of a greater whole. When we act with kindness and integrity, we free ourselves from the chains of selfishness and create a ripple effect of goodness. Think of a moment when you helped someone without expecting anything in return. Didn't it feel like a weight lifted from your heart? Imagine living a life where such acts of generosity were the norm. That's the kind of freedom Marcus Aurelius aspired to. Freedom from ego and freedom for service. As we near the end of this journey, let's reflect on the ultimate Stoic insight. Freedom is not about controlling the world, but about mastering yourself. Marcus wrote, "The soul that sees itself sees all things." When you truly know yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, your values, you become unshakable. Let me ask you, if nothing external could disturb your peace, how would your life change? Picture yourself standing amidst life's storms, not as a victim but as a master of your mind. You've let go of what you can't control, embraced impermanence, and found joy in simplicity. You are free. Now, let's end with a challenge. For the next week, live each day as a Stoic. Reflect nightly on what you controlled, what you released, and what you can improve. At the week's end, ask yourself, am I freer than I was before? This is the path to reclaiming focus and vitality. Not through external conquests, but through inner mastery. Not through resisting life, but through flowing with it. Freedom begins with a single thought. I have power over my mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. What will you do with that power?